Hey guys, back again. So let's do more reviews for this week and also pickups from a con I went to as well, a convention. But I'll do that after the reviews of the movies that I watched. So let's get started. In terms of current releases, the first movie I'm going to talk about is Space Jam: A New Legacy. I watched Space Jam, the original, like the 1996 one, a couple times as a kid. I never grew up with it really in a way where I loved it. I remember watching it. I remember thinking it was fine. I'm not a huge sports person, but I do love the Looney Tunes. And I remember the first Space Jam being just okay. It wasn't anything like super special. It wasn't anything super fun. But like I said, it's kind of a mishmash of something that I'm not really a fan of that much, sports, and then something I am a fan of, which is Looney Tunes. So it's kind of a weird mixed bag, the first Space Jam. And we finally got Space Jam: A New Legacy. This time starring LeBron James, and I guess it's in continuity with the first one because Bugs Bunny makes a joke like, "Oh, I think this has happened before." Wink, wink at the camera, kind of thing. Um, I'm gonna outright say it. I thought this one was pretty bad. Space Jam: A New Legacy. I thought it was way too long. I thought that looking at the movie as a whole, it's like the first Space Jam in a lot of ways. Like it's um, you've got the basketball star, whether it's Michael Jordan or LeBron James, whether it's one of the two basketball stars who get in a rut, um, and then they recruit the Looney Tunes to fight the bad guy in terms of a basketball game at the end. And that is this movie is like the first movie in that way. Um, but the thing I really didn't like about this movie is that it was so long, and also it was just in a lot of ways it was just Warner Brothers the movie. Like it's so much set on product placement that is insane with every movie that it shows. And I'm not gonna say I didn't enjoy some moments of it. There were some fun moments of Looney Tunes characters seen in other worlds for Warner Brothers properties, like Wally, Coyote, and the Roadrunner were in Mad Max Fury Road, which I thought was actually pretty cool. Um, but like it's one of those movies where the product placement is just so strong that it just kind of annoyed me in a lot of ways. It reminded me of Ralph Breaks the Internet, Wreck It Ralph 2, which I liked more than this, but it still was a lot of product placement and a lot of look at Disney and all of the Disney products that Disney does, which is not a giant negative, but for this one, I just felt like it went too much with it, and I felt like it was too long. The only things I really liked was the animation, which was really gorgeous, especially for whenever the Looney Tunes turned fully 3D. The animation was beautiful. The I thought that the Looney Tunes themselves had some fun moments. I thought that LeBron James, like Michael Jordan, is not really an actor, and they're not bad in these movies, but they're just not anything special. And that's not really a nice thing to say, I guess, in terms of criticism. But I feel like it's just these are stars for something that they're more successful at with basketball, and it's like they're fine in the movie. They're just not like anything amazing in each movie, in this one or the other one. But yeah, it's very very long. It's very very pandering in a way where it just really annoyed me. I felt like I knew every single thing that happened throughout the movie, so it kind of bothered me. Besides the little moments of the Looney Tunes characters, which I thought had a couple funny moments, in the animation, like this movie was pretty bad. I did not enjoy this one that much at all. Space Jam: A New Legacy. Um, and Next up, in terms of recent movies, the only other recent movie I watched was Fear Street 1666 Part 3 on Netflix, the last film in the Fear Street trilogy. And whenever I talked about the other Fear Street movies and the other reviews that I did recently, I enjoyed the first one. I really enjoyed the second one the most. And then we get to this one, which I liked half of it. I thought that the second half was pretty good. It was a good culmination of all three of these movies, but the halfway point, like the beginning to the halfway point, was the least interesting. And it's not bad, but it's a kind of style that I don't typically like get fully invested in terms of a horror movie. Like there's exceptions, like The Witch is great, like that kind of folk or that kind of uh old-timey style works in that movie. But this one, it was fine. It just wasn't anything that stood out to me with like whenever they were in 1666. But whenever it without spoilers, whenever it goes to the halfway point and it is something different in the movie, I like that a lot more. I felt like it resolved the whole like trilogy, which I thought was great. Like I said, the second one I liked the most, then the first one, then this one. This one wasn't bad, but it wasn't as good as the other ones. I thought it was a step underneath. Like I said, Fear Street 2, I gave like 4.5 out of 5 on Letterboxd. I really, really did have a fun time with it. And then 4 stars for Fear Street 1, and then 3.5 for Fear Street 3. So it's just, they're kind of like a couple points different in my eyes for the first viewing of these. But it still has great acting. It still has some good moments. It's still fun, and I did enjoy it. And I did think it was a fine end to the trilogy for the Fear Street movies. And like I said in the other reviews, I haven't read any source material for this. R.L. Stine, I only read Goosebumps. So I've never read any Fear Street stuff. But the movies, I thought these, whatever they are comparatively, I thought this was good. Like the whole trilogy. Like I thought it was good overall. So awesome. Like I said, it was pretty good. And then I watched two movies that are older movies. I watched Kentucky Fried Movie, and this really was awesome. I saw this was on Amazon Prime, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna finally see this one, directed by John Landis. It's basically just different things from different movies, like different commercials, or showing movies, but showing parts of movies that are made up. And it is genuinely funny. Like, I really thought this was a fantastic comedy. The fact that you've got some really great humor that just stuck with me. The fact that there's one scene where this guy is in a movie theater, and at this movie theater, it's got an experience where, like, this guy who works there right behind you does all the stuff that is going on in the movie. And they're watching something with Ava Gabor, or Jaja Gabor, where, like, she's talking to a guy and she's like, oh, I spilled water on you. And then like the guy behind the guy in the audience spills water on the guy. Or the guy in the movie will put a knife up to the woman. So the guy in the theater behind him puts a knife up to the guy and she's like, I can't do it. And then the guy's just sitting there like watching the movie like, am I going to get killed? Like that is really funny. I liked too the scene where it's the guy and the girl in bed, and the guy goes pretty quick, and then they've got, I forgot what his name is, but this big brute guy who comes in, and it says like a commercial, like he's here to please your woman if you can't, and like he takes the woman away, and it's really funny. And then there's one scene where like this guy, or this one infomercial where this guy's like, what do you do after death? Don't drive, don't go do all these things, kind of thing. Like, I can't think of what he said, but then they've got a thing where the guy who's saying after death, this helped this family, and it shows this family with their dead son that's been like dead for 3 years, a dead body, and they're like, yeah, we take our son everywhere. We take him to recreational swimming. It just shows the dead body in the pool, and stuff like that. It's so funny with just what they did with this movie and the humor. Like, I really thought it was great. And those were some good examples, I thought, that made the movie really, really hilarious. Like I said, really enjoyed Kentucky Fried Movie. 4 stars, I think I gave it on Letterboxd. Just really, really enjoyed it. And then Midnight Run I watched for the first time. Robert De Niro and Charles Grodin. And it's weird to say that I just watched this movie for the first time, because Charles Grodin passed away, I think, it was either a month ago or a couple weeks ago. And I have seen him in stuff, and I've enjoyed him in stuff, but wow, he's really freaking good in this movie, and Robert De Niro is great. So it's cool to see, even though it's so sad that it was his time, but it's cool to see that I watched this older movie where he's fantastic in it right after. Like, it just really made me appreciate this person who I don't know much about. I've seen him in a couple movies, but it's cool to see that kind of thing. And this is about a guy who, Charles Grodin's character, who takes $1,500 or $15,000 worth of money, and Robert De Niro, part of a gang, goes and tries to get him while the feds are trying to get Charles Grodin as well. And it's just a buddy road trip movie. Or not a buddy road trip movie. They're not buddies. But by the end, it really makes it feel like they kind of are. I really thought that their chemistry was great, and they were so hilarious. They really cracked me up with how they were just so, like, Charles Grodin was just so nervous and like nice, but Robert De Niro is just a jerk, and Robert De Niro plays jerk really well. Like in this one particularly, he's awesome, and like I said, it's just a really entertaining movie. I was really surprised how much I loved it because I'm not really into these kind of movies that much, but I really enjoyed Midnight Run. Um, and then these two aren't movies, but I'm going to talk about two shows that I watched all the way through. I watched Loki, and I started with WandaVision and Falcon and Winter Soldier, where I did like an episode recap, like every episode. But these past couple months have been kind of grueling, so I did not do one for Loki, and I'll talk about it here. But Loki is again the new Disney Plus show that everybody knows about. Nobody does not know what this is. This one is interesting because those Marvel shows that they're putting on Disney Plus keep getting better and better, and I think I like this one the most. I didn't expect to like this one the most because Marvel does a great job of upping your expectations. Where like I thought whenever this came out, I was like, okay, it's gonna be another thing with Loki who has died like 20 times and come back, but it just would have been kind of something generic. But really, I thought the show really worked, and I really liked the fact that it's a very surprising show. Like I did not know where it would go. The show does a great job of showing these characters, especially Loki and Sylvie, these two characters who form a bonded relationship while they go through all of these crazy things through time, through different areas of time, and try to escape the TVA, and are trying to figure out who's behind the whole thing, like who's in charge of time, who's in charge of doing all this, and in charge of the timeline. And I thought it just was really well executed. And like I said, Tom Hiddleston is always great as Loki. You can't say anything different there. He's always awesome. The girl who played Sylvie is great. Owen Wilson is great as well. And the other actors involved, I don't know their names, but they're all really good as well. I'm not going to spoil it if people don't know, but the actor in the last episode was really good as well. The show ended on a surprising note. It did not end on a big battle, which is really surprising. Like, I did not expect that for a Marvel show, and I like that they trusted the audience more, because WandaVision, while I enjoyed that, I felt like the last couple episodes went from being just different TV shows, to a full-on Marvel movie again, and it felt like it didn't completely put itself in there very fluidly, like the whole action scene at the end of that show. Even though it worked for Wanda's character, but I liked how this one didn't do that. It was just a quiet thing about characters towards the end of the show and not a big battle. And Marvel can do that where they do battles and characters at the same time, but this one was just about characters, and I really liked that, and I thought that was surprising. And this isn't really a spoiler because people already know it's renewed for season 2, but I'm excited for season 2. That's going to be great to see where they go with this. They really changed the Marvel universe now, to what they're going to have their next big rest of the franchise is going to become. So I loved how this one started that. So I'm excited for whatever they bring next. Of course, I'm usually excited for Marvel stuff. But especially Loki season 2, because I really thought this was the best Marvel show out of all of them, out of the Marvel Disney Plus shows. And then I watched Ash vs. Evil Dead all the way through. And the reason I watched this, and I'm going to talk about this more whenever I get to the convention stuff, is because Dana DeLorenzo, who plays Kelly, was at this con I went to. So I thought I might as well binge the show because I would want to meet her. And Ash vs. Evil Dead was really freaking good. I really loved the show. I thought that it's so funny how they really just do a great job of elaborating onto this universe, where Ash Williams now is older and he has to deal with these two new young people to fight the Deadites with Kelly and Pablo. And these two characters are fantastic additions. They're so funny. I love how Kelly is the smart-ass, rude person, and just the personality that in the show just really is hilarious. And Pablo is this hilarious, kind of bright character at the beginning. Like, he's kind of like a doofy character, and then he gets a lot of shit throughout the whole show with demons and all this, and it's really good with the characters, and they really, both of them together are fantastic new additions to this franchise, because I really did love them. And of course Bruce Campbell is fantastic like usual and all these things, but I had to point out those two new additions because they're awesome. And Ruby, who's one of the villains in the show, is really great as well. I forgot what her name is in real life, but she's Xena. But I really liked the villain Ruby. She was awesome as well. The show is gory as hell. It's hilarious. It's so entertaining. It's also heartfelt as well. And I felt like the seasons, all three seasons, really were good. I felt like season 3 was the slightly weaker one, but it's not like weak in a way where it's bad. It was just like the first two like set the bar really high, and then season 3 was good. But I did like all the seasons overall, and I think it's still a great show. But I really enjoyed Ash vs. Evil Dead. And that's all the stuff I watched. So I'm going to talk about this convention I went to, Crypticon, Kansas City. I went there and met a lot of different actors that I really wanted to meet. And I bought a lot of movies because I just love all this stuff. So I went to Crypticon and I met, starting out, I'll say Dana De Lorenzo, who is really extremely friendly and nice and fuzzy. And she just, every person she talked to, she was like friendliest and nicest that I've seen. Like, I thought she was the highlight of all the people I met, and everybody was great. But I really loved meeting her. She was so funny and hilarious, and she just was really a really awesome trooper. Like, just watching, because you meet so many people, and she treated everybody like they were the best person. Like, I really enjoyed that. So I met her. I met Lisa Wilcox from Nightmare on Elm Street 4 and 5. Really friendly as well. I met Billy Zane, who I did enjoy meeting, but I just didn't. I was just so shy, like, because I love all these actors, but he's like one of those big stars that I just didn't know what to say to him, and I was just like, kind of like a high and by thing, but I loved meeting him. I had him sign my Demon Knight Scream Factory Blu-ray. And I had Lisa Wilcox sign my Nightmare on Elm Street 4 as well. But I met them. Then I met Terry Kaiser from Friday 7. I talked to him about Tammy and the T-Rex, because that was just the last couple of years released. Or re-released in its new form, an unrated form. Terry Kaiser was hilarious. Very nice. Scout Taylor Compton and Tyler Main I met. Christina Klebb was going to be there, but then had a gig, I think, at the last minute and had to cancel, which is unfortunate because I wanted to meet her, but I didn't get to. Maybe one day, but Scout Taylor Compton and Tyler Main were so friendly and so nice. And I watched their Q&A as well, and they were just so, like, it's just so funny to see them both together. Like, they really like a brother and sister kind of thing, where they love each other. It just really seems like they genuinely are great friends. So it was great meeting them as well. And also, I know I met a couple other people. I met CJ Graham from Friday 6, which was really fun. He really was like Kane Hodder, who I met a couple years ago at the last Crypticon. Kane Hodder was really the nicest guy, and CJ is the same way. They're both incredibly friendly, and they both surprised me in how... Not surprised me, that's not really the word, because you never know until you meet a person how nice they might be, or not nice. And everybody was nice at this convention. Like, there's no mean person I met at all, but it's just surprising to see with somebody like Kane or CJ, where like these are people that have fans talk to them every second of the day, like online or like in person, like talk to them all the time. But I love how every time, whenever I met both of them, they were both genuinely like, they felt so genuine. They were so nice and so friendly, and I love how some people you don't have that with that do movies. Like, you don't have people sometimes that are like that are nice or even care that much. And I love that they care that much about everybody. And I watched the Q&A with CJ, and he was hilarious. We had somebody come in when the doors were shut, and he screamed at the person and said, or these two girls, and said, "Hey, sit down. Teacher told you to sit at the front." Even though he was just joking, but he was intimidating on purpose. Really, really great class act. Really liked seeing CJ Graham as well. And I met Danielle Pasuti, who was in Curse of Chucky, and she was really hilarious as well. She was really funny. Very, very sweet because, again, it's not like you expect this from performances versus a real life person. It felt like that with Dana De Lorenzo as well, or her character is really mean in the show, but then or really dry, and in real life she's really bubbly and jumpy. And Danielle Pizzuti was the same way, where like her character in Curse of Chucky, Barb, was just such a horrible person. You wouldn't expect that in real life, but it's just whenever you see how good of an actress or actor they are, like you kind of expect that maybe, but of course not. She was incredibly friendly and so nice, and I liked. I talked to her about the new Chucky series coming out. That the trailer dropped that day, or the teaser dropped that day. She talked about how she's good friends with Don Mancini and everybody involved with those movies, because I feel like all the people involved with Don Mancini and all the Chucky stuff just are genuinely good friends, and it just seems like that from what I hear from either interviews or like talking to them in person. But really awesome to see her as well. I really enjoyed all of them, and I thought that they all were really fun. I'm trying to think if there's any more that I missed, because I know I met a lot of people, so it was hard to remember fully. I think that is it, and I think that's all the people that I met. And got autographs or pictures. But I did Q&As as well. Like I said, with most of them, with Scout, with Tyler, with Danielle Pasuti. Bonnie Aarons, the nun, was in one of them as well with Danielle Pasuti. CJ Graham. I did a Dee Wallace Q&A. I want to meet her one day, like actually talk to her. I just was in the Q&A. I didn't actually go up to her, and that's just because it's so much money, and I know she's there all the time, so I do want to see her, meet her, and talk to her. But the Q&As were great, especially with her, with Dee Wallace, because I haven't seen her really ever. Like, I mean, she was at the last one, but I didn't see the Q&A for that one. But she was genuinely nice, and I liked hearing the story. She talked about E.T. and like how Drew Barrymore, who was like 3 or 4, like Dee told her, like, we're gonna go and watch E.T. dying right now, even though it's not real. And then, are you gonna be okay? And then young Drew Barrymore says, "Yeah, Dee, I'm not an idiot." And then she walks up to dying E.T. and Drew Barrymore screams, "E.T. is dying!" And like, I want to rewatch E.T. and just see that scene, because if you know she's actually crying, like, it makes it more authentic, even though acting can be great, even if you're not like in that set, but being a little kid like that, it's genuine, and it's cool to hear that kind of story. I liked hearing, she also talked about how the movie The Frighteners, Peter Jackson's Frighteners, this isn't a happy story, but she lost her husband. She had to go, her husband had like a heart problem. She flew, I forgot where, but she flew right before The Frighteners. And then the husband was okay. She went back to The Frighteners, and then the husband died. I don't know how long later, of a heart attack. But she told this really genuinely sweet story that whenever she came back, did The Frighteners after her husband died, she was gonna pay for like the time that was taken, because of course you had to leave during the movie. So she left, and then after that, she said she was going to pay for like this after the movie is done filming. And then Peter Jackson paid all of it for her, like that she shouldn't have to pay for that because she lost her husband. And I love that she said, like, that's something I'll never forget from any director, like that Peter did that for her. Like, that's just so moving, and that's just such a great thing, that even though the horrible thing happened, like, how nice Peter Jackson did for that. Like, that was awesome. And I enjoy Peter Jackson movies already, but that's cool to hear him as a person, like how nice he is. That's really cool. I also had a Q&A with Mark Ralston, or watched a Q&A with Mark Ralston, who was in Saw, Aliens, Shawshank Redemption. Um, Again, he had a lot of funny things. He said a lot of funny behind the scenes in Aliens with Sigourney Weaver. She said a lot of explicit things just to be like silly to him, and I thought that was awesome. Um, and he told a really sad story, which, as you all know, Bill Paxton passed away. I think 3 or 4 years ago now. Again, always rest in peace, because he was fantastic. He was a fantastic actor, and I love Frailty. That's like my favorite role of his. But Mark was talking about how he lost Bill, and everybody did, but he lost Bill after he told him like we're gonna go do this thing. But then Mark decided, I think, to wait instead of wait after the surgery that Bill had, and then Bill passed from, I think. And Mark regretted that. He said, like, we'll hold off. We should have just did something before this, like, because then Bill was gone. And it was such a sad, really, well, it's a bittersweet story, because it's just sad that he's gone, but like, it was just a little sad thing that happened, in that way, where he wanted to do something with him before. And I love that Mark said, like, everybody says Tom Hanks is the nicest guy in Hollywood, and that's not true. It was Bill Paxton. So, and he even said, like, at the funeral, like, Jim Cameron said some words, and he said Jim Cameron is very quiet and not very doesn't show much emotion. And then he said in front of everybody, like, I wish I could have told Bill I loved him. And it really was a really sweet but sad story to hear. Because again, like, you grow up with these movies and you know that they're not real, but like, you just watch like how much of an impact they make on your life, and then you hear these stories in real life of these actors, and just whether they're happy or sad, like, it's really cool to hear just the stories that have happened. And I thought that it's so cool to do these and hear these people talk about this stuff. Like, it was just so moving. Like, I really liked all of these interviews, or Q&As. And I think that's all the Q&As I saw. I didn't get to stay Sunday, but I went Friday and Saturday and watched most of the Q&As. But then let's talk about pickups. So I got 7 movies at the Crypticon. I found a vendor who had like all these old Giallo movies, and I really wanted to buy more. But again, I spent so much money on the autographs, pictures, and then I bought some of these movies, which were pretty expensive. But I'm glad I found some good ones that I can't find anywhere else, really. I see really expensive online. I found Ghoulies 1 and 2, and I have not seen Ghoulies 1 or 2, actually, ever. Like, I've seen Ghoulies 3, Ghoulies Go to College, but I've never seen these two. And I saw they were on HBO Max, but I'm like, you know what, I want to physically own this still, because this one on Amazon, I think it's like $60 to $80 on DVD alone, and I found this for $20. So, hell yeah, awesome. I can't wait to watch those. Then I got to 2 Anchor Bay DVD releases of Giallos, which I have seen before. I have Zombie and Tenebrae. So Zombie, of course, is awesome. Zombie versus Shark. That's my favorite scene in the movie. This is just so fun and so disgusting, but so great. The effect work is awesome in this movie. I saw this a couple years ago. Lucio Fulci, really awesome. $5 for this DVD. I want to get the Blu-ray or the 4K, but I thought $5 for this, I'm going to have to get it. So, you know. And then here's the story with Tenebrae. So Tenebrae is on Blu-ray, but I can't find it anywhere. I can't find it for any cheap at all. I found this there for $30, but then the guy, after I bought a couple more movies I'll show, he said, I'll just give it to you for $20. And I'm like, that's a great deal. Thank you so much. So I finally got Tenebrae to own. Even though I want it on Blu-ray, it's so hard to find it. So at least I got the DVD. At least I own it in some way. Tenebrae is really cool. It's not my favorite Argento, but it's really up there, but it's not my top 3 or 5. Or no, it might be in my top 5. Because I love Suspiria, I love Opera, I love Deep Red's my favorite, but those 3 I love, and then maybe Tenebrae might be next. Tenebrae or Phenomena, but yeah, Tenebrae I'm glad I actually own a physical copy of. And then the last movie I got from that one vendor with these other movies, excluding Zombie, I found Leatherface, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3, the only one I didn't own a physical copy of. It's always online. Like, I always see this. This is the Warner Archive Collection. So Warner Brothers released this a year or 2 ago on Blu-ray, which didn't get a Blu-ray release ever. It was only on DVD, and the DVD was so hard to find. But then whenever I went to this vendor, I found like 5 copies of the DVD and a couple copies of the Blu-ray. So I'm like, good, I finally own it. It's the only one in the franchise I don't own. This is one I actually honestly need to rewatch more because I think I love the first one is the scariest movie ever made. Like, it is truly the scariest thing ever made. I can watch that movie and it feels like it's real. Like, it's so effective. And part 2 is genuinely one of my favorite sequels ever, even though it's so outrageously hilarious, and it's got so many quotable lines, part 2, but part 3 has always kind of been a letdown to me in a way where it's serious like the first one, but it doesn't always have the grit of the first one. It does have good cinematography, but it never felt completely like the first one in terms of its grit. But to be honest, the first one is like a one and done special case where like it looks like a snuff film. It looks like you're actually watching a real thing happen, which makes it even more scarier. This looks like a movie, but it's good looking. The cinematography is good. The atmosphere is good, but it's just not the same as the original. And the second one wasn't trying to be. It was trying to be goofy. But this is just the unrated version, I guess, on this DVD or on this Blu-ray. But it also has a filmmaker commentary, which I love commentaries, so awesome. I like the artwork as well. I think that's really cool artwork. But yeah, I don't love 3, but I do want to rewatch it again. And then I went to Vinegar Syndrome's their booth. And I thought I might as well spend $20 and go and get at least one movie of theirs. I was thinking of getting Cutting Class with Brad Pitt, but I didn't get that. I want to get that, though. But instead I got Slaughterhouse, which is a movie that my friend John Kyle keeps telling me about. I don't know. It looks fun. I love slashers, so I thought one and done. We'll see. But yeah, that's all I got to say. I haven't seen Slaughterhouse yet, but it looks fun. And then this was a really cool deal. So I didn't expect to find these Scream Factory releases there, but I found 2 Scream Factory 2-packs. And they were pretty cheap, like $8 and like $15 for one. This one was $8. It was Metamorphosis and Beyond Darkness. And I have not seen either of these, but it's Scream Factory. It was $8. I'm gonna get them. Again, know nothing about them. They look interesting, but yeah, the Metamorphosis and Beyond Darkness. And then this other 2-pack, the last movie I got, was X-Ray and Schizoid. And Schizoid I have seen a long time ago. I don't remember much about it, but I have not seen X-Ray, and I want to see X-Ray. These are both slashers, I presume. I mean, the other one I'm presuming is a slasher. Schizoid is definitely a slasher, but I do just like finding these Scream Factories for so cheap, because some of these are, like anything that goes out of print, extremely rare. So I'm glad I found this as well. But yeah, I'm excited to watch these eventually. So that is all my pickups, all the reviews for this week, and all the Crypticon stories. So yeah, that's a pretty long video, 35 minutes almost. So I'll make another video soon. I don't know when. I like doing this weekly thing because it makes me feel better, just in terms of time, in terms of a full schedule of work, in terms of just, like, sometimes life is hard with, like, just juggling things. So, like, it's cool to do all this in one video. So that is it for today. Stay tuned for more.